Berries and Tea with me, our weekly show, and today we have Sahil talking about decluttering and his book that's been released recently. Not just decluttering of the house, but also your mind, so that you can prosper in life. So I look forward to him joining. There he is. Hi Sahil. Send request to join. Great view, and fingers crossed it all works out. Hi Asa. Where are you, Sahil? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, Sahil. How are you today?
I'm good. I just realized my head is getting cut off. I need to raise this a little higher.
Yeah, you can. Maybe it'll be a little bit better. Otherwise, I can only see half of you.
Let me be right back.
Awesome. So until Sahil comes back, I hope you guys have been enjoying our weekly Instagram shows, and we have another beautiful month of April with speakers lined up. You can check the schedule for that. Okay, so we're back. There we are.
Okay.
That's better.
Balancing act. Okay, here we are. Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. Do you have your cup of tea?
Always handy.
Good. Okay, so Sahil, tell me. I'm so grateful for the introduction that Waleed did for you and I know you've got a book released, and you talk about decluttering, not just of the things in the house and the physical things, but also the mind. And I think that's such an interesting concept. Perhaps we can start with that, and we can have a little conversation. Maybe if people have any questions, and then they'll divert us in whatever way.
Absolutely. So, I'm a mountain climber, and I love to use the metaphor of the mountain. So imagine if I'm climbing the mountain and I'm carrying all this excess baggage, essentially, which is not going to be of any function or use during my climb. That's going to pose two problems. It's going to take longer to get to my summit, and it's going to require a lot more energy. And so essentially, I'm reducing my chances of reaching my summit. So the same way, we have a lot of thoughts, a lot of challenges in our mind, challenges in our body, whether it's health related. It could be issues with relationships with people, or it could just be a lot of stuff that we have in our homes and office, right? But all of this is based essentially extra weight that's slowing us down, that's preventing us to getting to our summit. So I ask all of you is, what are you carrying with you that no longer serves any function or purpose in your life? Because if it doesn't, it's time to let it go.
Well, that's an interesting concept with the summit. I never thought of it that way. That is so interesting, because there's sometimes we hold on to things so tightly with our teeth, not wanting to let it go. And I'm the prime example of that. I was in a relationship that I was holding on to so tight, and the moment I've let it go, I've just like reached my summit so fast.
Yeah, because it was holding you back. And as you mentioned in your particular case that you highlighted, you created space for something new to enter in your life as well. Rather than clogging it up. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So then, Sahil, well, first of all, how do we know what's clutter? And then how do we easily let go of it?
So the first thing I always tell people is we need to heighten our awareness, right? I mean, there's so many things. I mean, if I take myself as an example, I was always on the run. I wake up, I'm running, I'm at work, I'm running, I'm eating, I'm running. I just felt like I'm just constantly running. I never really had that pause moment where I sat down and reflected, which is why I'm so glad you mentioned we should have a cup of tea, because I don't call it a cup of tea. I actually call it a cup of time. Whenever I have sip on my tea, I actually get some time back for myself, and I can
Yes.
reflect on so many different areas of my life. So the first one is awareness. And I always tell people, let's be more aware of what we're doing. Are we reacting to things or are we responding? Let me just give you an example. You say something, I may not like it, I react back. Okay? That's not in a heightened state of awareness. That's a reaction. What I want to do is I want to consciously reply back to you. So rather than reacting, I'm going to pause. I'm going to quickly reflect, and then I will reply. Right? So the first thing and most important, we have
Oh, wait, Sahil, we lost your voice there. Say that
to,
again.
is it done for me?
Yeah, yeah, you're good now. Say that again, though.
Okay. So it's all about that heightened state of awareness. So just ask yourself and reflect on your day. What am I doing? Is this serving any purpose in my life? And that's really the key question. Is this serving any purpose in my life? And in some cases, I even go as far as saying, when someone does something, like someone cuts me off on the road, I go, by reacting to it, by getting angry, is it really going to do any, is it going to add any value? And many times the answer is
Or you're getting phone calls, are you?
yeah, I'm getting phone calls. Sorry, I'm disconnecting them as we move along. Um, so yeah, it's a heightened state of awareness. And the best way to start is ask yourself, what are three things that are holding me back? Right? And don't go after the hardest one first because you might set yourself up for failure. Pick the easier of the three and just go for it. And what I tell people is experience the magic that happens when you remove that clutter from your life, and that helps to build the momentum to keep going.
Right.
So yeah,
So list of things, let's say list three things that holding you back from from reaching your mission or living a healthy, thriving life,
lovely.
right?
I love that question. I love that question because many times people haven't identified their summit, and there doesn't have to be one. It could be a summit for health. There could be another summit for work. There could be another summit for relationships. Because I come across people and they tell me, Sahil, I want to be successful. And I go, great, that's wonderful. What does success mean? And you go, I want to be rich. And I go, great. What does that mean? Is it rich in health? Is it rich in relationships? Is it rich in wealth? Which one is it? So I love what you said. It's first about identifying your summit. I mean, imagine me as a mountain climber going to the bottom of a mountain range and go, okay, I'm just going to climb. So which peak? Without having a direction on the peak, I'm just going to be walking around everywhere and, wondering why I'm not getting anywhere. So amazing question. Identify that summit. And like I said, there can be many summits in your life. So identify the ones in different aspects of your life as well.
I
And
love that.
the four areas that I would probably tell people to focus in on are the mind, the body, the physical body. So that's more of the self. The third summit would be around the relationships. The fourth summit would be the material world, right? So these are the four areas that I would suggest that people start off with, because that affects everything around you.
So what you're saying, what I will do after we finish this call, because I'm finding this really useful, I'm going to write my four summits, sort of the material world, relationships, health, and what was the fourth one?
The mind.
The mind. And then write three things that are holding me back in thriving in that aspect of my life. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then what do I do, Sahil?
And then you pick one. You pick one that you want to target. And look, what I always share with people is I love to give tools and rituals to help you to, declutter. Because one is to identify, and that comes with awareness. But like you said, what next? And what I love to do is perhaps go through a few tools and rituals that, someone can apply in their life immediately, and The first one I would come up with is, we live in a world now that's engulfed with a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear in the world, and if you just look at the frequency, it's in dissonance. It's not in resonance, right? There's a lot of, and that's affecting a lot of us with our mental health as well, as well as our physical health, because both are connected. So I tell people, and this is one tool that when I came across, I said, I mean, I was a little shocked. So let me just share with you. And it's this concept that there's no reason to worry in life. Okay? And I had a similar look to yours. Mine was maybe more animated, but I was thinking to myself, hey, wait a minute. What is this? This person's crazy. What are they saying? And hear me out. Let's just go through it. Do you have a challenge in life? Answer no. Okay, nothing to worry about. Do you have a challenge in life? Yes. Can you do something about it? No. Well, if there's nothing you can do that's going to change the outcome of the challenge, what purpose does worrying about it serve? Essentially, that becomes clutter in your life because you're worrying about something that you can't change the outcome of. So it's time to just accept it. The alternative is there a challenge in your life? Yes. Can you do something about it? Yes. Then put a plan of action in place to resolve it. Don't just sit on your backside. Right now, I know this sounds simple, and many people tell me, oh, but my challenges are more complicated than that. They're not so straightforward and simple. Fine, break it down. Break down any challenge you have into two parts, things you can do something about and things you cannot. And the things you cannot do anything about, remove that immediately, your worrying goes down. And the things you can do something about, put plans of action in place for each one of them. And once the wheels are in motion, your worrying is going down. And you just, wow, I mean, you feel so much better. And you're getting things done rather than just procrastinating and sitting and just worrying for nothing.
Sahil, I love the way your brain works. I wish my brain worked like that. That is incredible. You're right. That concept of there's nothing to worry about in life. I connected from a more spiritual perspective where we just need to surrender, to God, surrender to how a life unfolds. But if there is something that you can do, then you obviously put an action plan and you do it. And if, so that resonates, but really to just sit there and be like, there's nothing to worry about, and if there's something you can do, do it. So simple. And, and so hard at the same time for people to, why do, then my next question would be, because I think people just sort of enjoy worrying.
Yeah, the thing is, it's what you said is earlier is that it's easy to understand. It's very simple. Most things are. The challenge is that it's hard to implement, right? Because it requires courage, discipline, and humility. And sometimes, or in many cases, people lack one, two, or all three of them. And I came across this wonderful book, and I'd love to share a passage from it. And it goes something like this. So it's a book by Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. I'm not sure if you've read this book. And he describes all of us, and he uses this, analogy that we're all like dogs. Okay, we're all like dogs with this electric shock collar around our necks, and we think we're free. We're running around, but there are these electric, invisible fences around us. And every time we get close to this fence, we feel the shock, and we go, "Ooh, I don't like this pain. I'm going to go back to this zone of comfort, this zone that I'm familiar with, the zone which doesn't require any change or effort." And we just stay there. We don't progress. We see freedom on the other side, but we just decide to go back every time we feel that pain. But in reality, freedom only comes when you go right through. It's about understanding the pain, being okay with the pain, understanding that it's temporary, but on the other side is freedom. And that's why I also tell people, when you list your things that you wish to declutter from, don't pick the hardest one first, because there might be a lot of pain that's involved, right? Pick the one that's easier. see what results you get, build up that momentum, and then you go, wow, this is amazing. I want to keep going.
Such powerful knowledge you're sharing with us. And is this all in your book?
Oh, absolutely. And much more. I'm just giving you a teaser.
Incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on your book. So then, well, first of all, why did you write a book?
So that story is going to take me a couple of minutes to share. Do you have 2 minutes?
Yeah, I do.
Perfect. Perfect. So, I'm sitting at the airport at the gate at Barcelona, waiting to board my flight to Ibiza. And I'm there with 7 other entrepreneurs. We're all business owners. And I turn to one of them. I say, hey, Vinny, how can we make this trip amazing? How do we take it to the next level? And we discussed it between us, and we came to a conclusion, 2 words, which we shared with the rest of the group and all agreed. And those 2 words were no judgment. And when we agreed on that, it's like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have to pretend to be anyone I'm not. I didn't have to impress anyone. I could just be me. And the next 4 days were euphoric. I mean, just to give you an example, I was dining one evening at a restaurant called Leo, where they have entertainment while you dine. So they've got, magic acts, dance, acrobatics, etc. And our table's right next to the stage. And I'm sitting on the edge of the table, which is literally like my hand is on the stage. And so during one of the acts, this lady, she looks at me and she goes, come up. And I love to dance, but I mean, with the fear of judgment, I would have turned the other way. I would have shrunk back in my seat. I would have pretended I'm on a phone call or something. But I said, hey, no judgment. Let's go for it. And it was liberating. And that's how all 4 days were. And so when I'm coming back to Dubai, I'm writing all this down, in my journal to share with my wife, because I wanted it while it was fresh in my mind. And all of a sudden, tears started trickling down my face. And I'm thinking to myself, Sahil, it's not like you to cry. What's going on? And the more I reflected, the more I realized that I'd lost my sense of identity. I couldn't recognize myself anymore. I'd been wearing so many masks my whole life that who am I? I had no idea. And the mask that was most dominant in my case was the mask of must be seen as Mr. Nice Guy. And so in pleasing others, I was ignoring myself and my health. And that led to a lot of clutter in my life. Now, just to define what clutter is, in my definition, is clutter is nothing more than shunned confrontations. I was shunning confrontations in my mind, in my body, with my health, with people, as well as things around me. And then that just led to a lot of challenges. So I came back and I said, no more. I'm going to make myself the #1 priority. And some say, oh, that's a bit selfish. I say, no. I say, because I love everyone around me and I want to give, the only way I can give more is if my cup is overflowing, right? If I'm drinking from my cup and it's slowly diminishing, there's less for me to give. But if it's overflowing, I have tea to share with everyone around me as well. And so I started to identify the clutter in my life and I started to break free from it one at a time. And then people started to notice a change. They go, Sahil, what's going on? You look happier, you look more alive, you look better, you're glowing. And so I started to share with a few friends. And, at an evening event one time, this gentleman, a friend, James, walks up to me and says, Sahil, don't keep this to yourself. Because your sharing has had such a profound impact on my life. Share this with the world. And that was kind of one of those, the light bulb goes off moments. And I said, maybe I should. And then I started speaking. And the next thing I know, I got a call from Nairobi in Kenya. And they said, listen, we'd like you to come over and speak to, some very successful entrepreneurs about your framework, about the break free framework on decluttering your life. And then after that, I realized I can't be everywhere. And the only way I can, share this experience and knowledge that I've gained with the world is to write a book. Because not everyone can hear me speak or get access to me, but they can certainly pick up a book.
You're a very busy man, Sahil. Everybody wants to talk to you.
You know, it's funny. The whole day, my phone didn't ring. I get on Insta Live, and I'm thinking I should have put my phone on airplane mode, and that's when all the phone calls come.
All right, so this is when you decided, that's it, I'm gonna write. And when did you launch?
So I launched in January of this year. You know, a lot of things happened in COVID that weren't necessarily that pleasant, but one of the things I thanked COVID for was giving me the time during lockdown to finish my book.
Incredible. And where can we get one copy from? Amazon or?
You can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it on major online platforms, and if you live in the UAE, it's available at Borders and I believe at Kunikonya as well. So yeah, and on Amazon.ae as well, not just .com, so you can get local delivery if you're living in the UAE.
Amazing. Okay, everybody get Sahil's book. This is so exciting. Now, because I know the author behind the words, it's just going to make so much more sense to read it. But now I'm just like, I can't wait for this interview to be over because I'm like, what is the biggest clutter in my life? What am I holding on to? I need to figure it out. And it's incredible because as a coach, I also help people to sort of create shifts, ripples in their lives, to see their potential, to tap into that potential with Kundalini yoga. And it's so great to contribute to people's lives, but nobody's contributing to my life. So I'm going to use your sort of contribution and help myself and see where am I holding on to. And I have to admit that when I did let go of that relationship, that I was holding on so tightly. And I speak very honest about it because most of my followers and students know what I went through. It is so scary. It's like, oh, no, I'd rather stay in that, that dog that you talked about. I'd rather stay here. But when you push through it, it's almost a little bit unknown for some time, that fog that you're in when you sort of come out to freedom. And then it requires, like you said, courage, humility, and strength. For me, I don't remember what you said, the third part.
Discipline.
Just, pardon?
Discipline,
exactly. Yeah. And for me, physical strength is also quite an important element to help you through, and those sort of ingredients, humility, strength, discipline, all of that, it just kind of helps you to go through whatever that fog, and then there's light at the end, and it really helps. And I'm sure that's what you experienced as well when you decluttered from that people pleasing or that being super kind person.
Absolutely. And I do want to highlight that, it's not about not being super kind, but it's not at the expense of your health, right? Some people say, oh, so are you mean now? I said, no. But I will always ask myself, how does it impact me? This decision, when I say yes or no, or whatever it is, how does it impact me? Right? And before I would just give, but at some point you get depleted.
Yeah.
And many times I wouldn't even agree with it. But, just to give you an example, you and I might be working on a project together and you decide something and I don't like it, but I'm like, ooh, if I mention it, it's going to bring up some sort of a confrontational conversation, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. You know what? I'll just accept. But deep down, I don't accept. And that's also creating a rift between you and I. Because now I have it in my head that, I keep giving into you and you're kind of trying to overpower me. And the next thing you know, our relationship is starting to distance. Over what? Over something because I didn't want to have a discussion, because I had, all these thoughts in my head about what could go wrong, or having those difficult conversations. So, but if I care about a relationship, I want us to be close together. I don't want us to distance apart. So initially, to avoid the pain, I would give in. But in reality, by trying to make you happy, I actually created distance. So it had the negative effect.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Sahil, what are the common clutters in people's lives? Let's talk about from mind emotional perspective. Clutter in home, that's like, let's leave it to Marie Kondo to deal with that. What about the emotional and mind stuff? What are the common clutters?
So one thing I see all the time is assumptions.
Oh God, you just like
I see
hit me right
assumptions.
there.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I come across situations where with the people that I work with, you know, they're making so many assumptions. And what are assumptions? Assumptions are essentially filling in the blanks. Popularity contest. You don't know what's in the blanks, and you decide to fill them in. And what are you filling them in with? You're filling them in with your past experiences, or you're filling it in with based on what you've learned, right? But you're filling in the blanks for the other person through your experience. How does that make any sense? And if I really care about this relationship, am I ready to fill the blanks with assumptions which could potentially cause pain between us? How about I just ask? If I'm not clear, just ask. If you looked at me a certain way, I can ask you and clarify. If you said something I didn't understand, I can ask you to clarify. Now, there is a downfall to this. I have my wife telling me, Sahil, you ask too many questions. And I tell her, sweetheart, it's because I love you so much. I don't want to risk our relationship on assumptions, so I'm going to keep asking questions until I'm crystal clear. So bear with me, because understand my intention is for us to be like this, really tight. And I'm not going to risk our relationship. I'm not going to risk it at all based on assumptions. So ask yourself, because you play out stories in your head, but is it the story? Is it your story, or is it really the other person's story? Did you put in the effort to really find out? And oh my goodness, that adds so much clutter in people's. I've seen relationships destroyed over nothing because one assumes something, and then the other one assumes something, and then gone.
Yeah. Wow, you talk a lot of truth. Assumptions are a mother of all FUCK ups. So true. And so that's interesting. You say assumptions are either based on what we've learned from experience, or what was the second one?
So it was a combination of what you just said. It was something we've learned or heard, right? Something that, or the other one is based on our own experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That the last time someone did this to me, it meant this. That doesn't mean it means the same thing with another person. But we just decided to fill in the blanks.
Right. So ask questions, people, and Nigora. Okay, so that's number one, assumptions. What's the next one? I still have a little bit more time to pick your brain. Say that again.
Expectations.
Yes.
And there are two expectations that I have in life. One is, this is a universal one, I believe, and that is respect. I do feel that as society we should respect each other, right? And the second expectation I have is what's written on the job description. Okay, so if you're hired as an accountant and you can't do accounting, that's a problem, right? But anything else, no. I mean, expectations, again, it distances relationships, right? Because it's what you want. You're trying to mold the other person into what you want rather than accepting them for who they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see this in marriages. Oh my goodness. I hear people say, we've been married for 40 years and he or she still hasn't changed. And I go, wow, After 40 years, you still think they can change.
Yes.
But it just baffles me. It's like this constant battle that you want someone to be more like the person in your mind and not accepting them. And if you don't accept them, and now I'm just going to focus in on the closer relationships, which are spouses, children, parents. How pure is that love? How pure is that love?
Yeah.
I came across this great exercise which I do with the children on every now and again, and I'll ask them. I'll be like, why does daddy love you because you're beautiful? Nah. Does daddy love you because you're intelligent? Nah. Does daddy love you because you're funny? Nah. And I'll keep going. And I'll say, then why does daddy love you so much? And they would respond, which is what I taught them. And this is what I keep practicing as well with, in my head is because I am me. I don't want them to be the child that's in my mind. I want to help them to be the best version of themselves. And I can't do that until I accept them for who they are rather than expect. And I see this, relationship issues in the workplace, relationship issues at home. So many of them are based on assumptions and expectations. It's incredible.
Wow. Yes. You squeezed everything out of me, Sahil. I'm like, I need to work on myself. But also, so if the two culprits in humanity is assumptions and expectations.
Oh, there are many. These are just two of the more common ones.
Two common ones, right? Two main ones, the ones that are really can cause so much chaos and so much greed and pain. Yes, I'm just reading what people are writing. Yes. So if those two are the most annoying things, what would be your advice, Sahil? Let's get 3 advice. I know you already said, ask questions and don't expect, but give me some practical stuff that really will help me and other people to stop assuming and stop expecting. 3 practical things I can start doing today.
So one is to be more aware, right? Just be more aware, like slow down a little bit. Just start being more aware. Did I just fill in the blank or, ooh, I just did? No, next I need to ask the question, right? Just so be more aware and ask yourself that rather than trying to mold someone else, right? It's am I trying to change them or have I accepted them for who they are? It's about asking that question constantly in your mind. And then, but I have a lot of people that come to me and they go, yeah, but the conversations are difficult. I don't want to have them, So let me share something around that because, in our minds, we might have it as a confrontational conversation. And I want to share how you can overcome that, right? So before you have any conversation with someone, you have to first be clear. What is the state of mind that I'm entering this conversation? I used to enter a conversation many times, especially when I made assumptions or I had expectations. It usually led to disappointment, frustration, anger. And these were the emotions I would enter the conversation. And then I'm asking myself, one day I'm thinking, hey, Sahil, how do you expect to get a positive outcome if you've entered the conversation with a negative state of mind? You've reduced your chances. You've got this all wrong. And effectively, I'm not trying to put the other person down. I'm having these conversations to bring us closer. So I said to myself, okay, I need to enter these conversations with love, with empathy, with compassion, right? So that was the first aha moment. And then the second one was being very clear what I want the outcome to be. Otherwise, again, similar to mountain climbing, I stand at the bottom of the hills and I go, yeah, I'm not sure which mountain I'm going to climb today. No, be very clear and share that at the start of the conversation. That I want us, there's whatever the situation is, I want us to get closer together again. Be very clear up front because if you don't communicate that up front, sometimes this conversation goes sideways and you go, oh my goodness, what just happened? And here's some tools for the framework that I'm going to share for the communication framework. The first one, no violence. Okay, so no physical violence and no verbal violence, right? And not raising of your voice. Now you might go, oh, but sometimes my blood is boiling. What do I do? Pause, breathe. Practice box breathing. I use that all the time. It's fantastic, right? And box breathing, for all those that don't know, breathe in for, let's say, 3 seconds, breathe out, hold for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, and repeat till you get into a calmer state again. The second tip I would give is don't judge and assume, right? Listen, like just understand their intention. We live in, if you look at Dubai, we live in a mixed salad of nationalities and cultures. So what you say in my culture might be offensive, but in your culture might be something that's very, pure and loving. So don't judge and really understand the other person's intention, right? The third is listen. Now you might say, yeah, of course I listen. I mean, don't you listen in a conversation? I said, no, most people don't listen because they're not listening to the other person. They're listening to the voice in their head, which is interpreting what's being said or even thinking of the reply. Now, what do I mean by listen? It's not the listening where you're in the aircraft where they go, we're flying to the Maldives, it's 32 degrees, sunny outside, the flight time is 4 hours and 20 minutes, when you're probably reading a book on your phone, talking to some friends or something like that. You're listening, but it's not, you're not paying full attention. Now, here's the other one. The plane is about to go down. If you follow these instructions, you have the highest chance of survival. Oh my God, everyone is listening. Everyone's listening because they're like, I want to live. That's the kind of listening I'm talking about. That's the time and respect that you give to the other person. So just by implementing these things, you can have a much more fruitful conversation. But it's very important to highlight the framework with the other person because ultimately you're creating a safe space. Because if I feel that by opening up to you, I'm going to get attacked, I may not open up at all. But if we've created that safe space where it's okay to hear things you may not like, but at least you know the person is speaking the truth, and then you can work on how you can improve that and both grow together in the relationship. So yeah, that's my tip on the heightened state of awareness and kind of the rules of engagement, if that's the best way to put it.
Amazing. I think I'm going to listen to this interview many times. This is going to be saved. Obviously, it was going to be anyway. But also, this is just such profound advice, Sahil, and I'm so grateful for this. It's such an honor to have you live and teach us these things. And also, I'm so grateful that that friend of yours did tell you write a book. So you did. So we'll all have access to this knowledge. Very simple, I feel, accessible. If you write the way you speak, then it'll all be very accessible for us to also implement into our daily life. And I so hope we do so that we can encourage also change in the generations to come, right? And our children and in the relationships that we build. This is all so important. Yeah, big takeaways. So for me, I think the biggest takeaway was to understand what is my clutter and or just to list all the clutters in those 4 elements that you mentioned and start with something and to really see what is the biggest clutter that's holding me back from evolving, perhaps in my relationships. And also, I loved the obviously awareness and those 3 rules on conscious communication. Or 3 tips, let's put them that way. I think those are going up on my wall so they're constantly reminding me to be an active listener and no judgment, and also going into the conversation with love, empathy, and compassion, right? Am I a good student, Sahil?
One of the best. You were
Well,
certainly listening. That's the most important thing.
yes, I'm good at that. I'm good at listening, but then it's just hard sometimes to implement things when it comes to me, like because we as coaches, you're just so good at giving advice or asking questions and listening and really helping people. When it comes to you, you're like it's harder. It's a lot harder. So just sharing a piece of my truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's for that reason. It's for that reason that I got myself a coach because I realized that I need someone to push me and to elevate me as and reach my full potential. Otherwise, I can sometimes ignore myself. And so I have someone who's, is not so light on me, pushes me, but in a tough love. I say tough love, right?
So are you a coach, Sahil?
I am a coach indeed, yes.
Okay,
I'm
so
I'm a
maybe
business owner. I'm a business owner, but I'm a coach as well. Yes.
a life coach, do you call yourself, or
So, I focused a lot on leadership coaching because I'm working with, I find that leaders are change makers in the world. And so I love to work with change makers because the impact of working with the change makers, once they elevate to the next level, everyone, I shouldn't say beneath them, but within their group, which are their team members, their friends and families, they get the effect as well. And so you start to see a ripple effect spreading very quickly.
amazing. So I will get in touch with you for some coaching for myself. I think I'm ready. Well, thank you so much, Sahil. These were the most wonderful 40 minutes I think we talked. The video will be saved for everybody to watch on IGTV, but also published on my YouTube channel, Love Life with Nigora. And I'm so grateful for your time. And now you can go and call all those people that were trying to get in touch with you,
So I've
wondering
got a
when.
closing. I've got one little closing for the audience.
Yes.
One finale, the icing on the cake. And, it's a story. It's a story about a sailor. He goes to the captain. He says, Captain, when are we getting our pay? And the captain says, tomorrow, come tomorrow. And so the next morning, the sailor's all excited, goes running to the captain. Captain, can I get my pay today? And the captain said, hey, didn't I tell you come tomorrow? So you see, my fellow global citizens, there is no tomorrow. You've got some great tips that you've heard. Apply them today.
Yes. Apply them right now. Sahil, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful. And I'll see you soon. I'm going to contact you, and also I'm going to get my hands on your book.
Absolutely. I'd love to send you a signed copy.
Oh, yes, yes. Privileges of being an interviewee. Woohoo! Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you, everybody who listened. See you guys all next week when we talk about feminine and masculine energy and how to balance that. All right. Bye-bye.